here we're going to look at some examples on what it means to use the fundamental counting principle to find different outcomes to different scenarios. So essentially, the fundamental counting principle is an idea or a principle that we use in order to help us figure out how many different possibilities exist within certain parameters. So things like, let's say you're shopping on Amazon and you're looking at, you're looking at notebooks, and you found a specific notebook, but then you have to choose, do you want wide ruled or do you want college ruled, and then did you want one folder or divider or 3 dividers or 5 dividers, and then you have to choose your color. Well, if you take a look at all of that, you can actually calculate how many different outcomes or different types of notebooks you would be able to buy based on those set of parameters. In other words, how many different options you really have to choose from. So the fundamental counting principle helps us do that. Now, the more options you have to choose from, the larger the number of choices you may have. So for example, if we look at this first one, notice I've already written it all out so to make it a little bit easier. The question says that you're ordering a new e-reader and you have several choices to make. You can choose from 5 price ranges, decide between Wi-Fi and 3G, choose to have 1-year or 3-year warranty, and pick black, white, or silver casings. And you wanted to be able to find out how many possible e-readers there are for you to really choose from. So on the side here, notice I kind of took notes, and I took notes in a very basic way, which essentially is I just listed out how many options for each category. So I had a category of price, and there were 5 options that I could choose from. Now notice what those individual options are doesn't matter, it's just the number of options I have. I had 2 types to choose from, 2 warranties to choose from, and 3 colors. So we're basically taking this big long paragraph and we're shortening it down to just the bones of what we need. Now, in order to use our fundamental counting principle, we essentially are going to multiply together each of your types, and that's going to give you your total. So here we have price, so 5 times 2 types times 2 warranties times 3 colors gives you a total of 60 ways that you could choose an e-reader to order. Okay. So now let's look at just a couple more examples here, and I'm going to show you specifically how to break these down. So this first one says we have Georgia license plates that are created using 3 letters and then 4 numbers, and then how many possible license plates could be created using that format. So the first thing we want to do is we want to be able to look at the 2 options we have. So first we have letters, and in that we have 26 letters in our alphabet. Our second option is numbers. Now, if you think of a license plate, each number is a single digit. So when we're thinking about single digits, we actually have 10, and those digits would go from 0 to 9. Now, the actual creations don't matter. What matters is how many options we can choose from. So we have 3 letters and then 4 numbers. So essentially what that means is we are going to do letter times letter times letter times your numbers times the numbers times the numbers times the numbers. So in this case I have 26 letters to choose from times 26 letters to choose from times 26 letters to choose from, and then I had 10 numbers times 10 numbers times 10 numbers times 10 numbers. So this is going to give me my total number of ways. Now, don't get scared because these numbers can get real big real fast. So we are looking at 175,000,000 760,000 ways. Okay. So those are the number of different license plates that you would be able to create using this particular format. Now, what if we have 7 children lined up for recess? How many different ways can they line up? Well, in this, order matters. So if we're thinking about 7 different ways to line up, we would have 1 spot, 2 spots, 3 spots, 4 spots, 5 spots, 6 spots, and 7 spots. Okay? So if we look at this first spot here, I have 7 children that I can choose from. So a 7 would go there. Now I already have 1 child assigned. So if I look at my second spot, there's only 6 remaining kids in the class. So this would have to choose from 6. Now I have my first 2 spots filled. There's only 5 left. I hope you see the pattern. My first 3 spots are filled, so there would be 4 left. Then you would have 3 left, 2 left, and finally your last student. Okay. Now, in a roundabout way, this is actually the same as a factorial. So we're going to get to that in a different video lecture, but here, just real quick, a factorial is you take your number and you multiply in descending order down to 1. Well, that's exactly what we did here. You're going to multiply all of those together, and in this case, come out with 5,040 different ways that you could order your students to line up for recess. Okay, now last, I have colleges' soccer teams will play 11 games next fall. Each game can result in one of 3 outcomes: a win, a loss, or a tie. Find the total possible number of outcomes for the season's record. Okay. So in this, what we're looking at is we are looking at your outcomes raised to your number of games. Because for each outcome, we would have, for each game, we have 3 outcomes. And so in this case, one thing that you can remember is that this little hat essentially means power. So what we're doing is we have 3 different outcomes. So a win, a loss, or a tie, but we have 11 games. Now each game is independent. It does not depend on the game previous. So in this case, we would end up with 177,147 possibilities. Okay. So there you've got 4 examples, or 4 that you can look at, all of which are talking about the number of ways to use the fundamental counting principle to figure out the number of outcomes you have to a given situation. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I do hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.